everyone, and welcome to another author conversation with one of our 2025 Michigan Notable Book authors. This is Anna Rose Johnson. She is the author of The Luminous Life of Lucy Landry, which try to say that 10 times fast. It's difficult, but I'll let her go ahead and show you the cover of this beautiful book. Even the cover is beautiful. So you know the words are going to be even more beautiful. And what's wonderful too, this is the second time I've got to talk to Anna Rose in one of these conversations for her 2023 Michigan Notable book, The Star That Always Stays. So if you haven't read that one, you can always catch up. We recommend reading both of them. They're both excellent. So today we're going to just kind of delve in a little bit to you. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself and then we'll start talking.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm just really excited to have the opportunity to do this. Yeah, fun to be able to talk again. So yeah, I'm Anna Rose and I write historical middle grade books. Um, and my first two books obviously are set in Michigan. Um, it's just a place I really enjoy writing about. And for a little bit of background on like how I became a writer, I actually don't really remember a time when I didn't want to be an author. It was this dream that I've had since I was very young, and so I don't remember like all the specifics of deciding that I want to be an author, but I knew that getting published was very important, and so that's what I wanted to be a published author. And I was very serious about getting published, even at like 7 or 8 years old, because it was so exciting to me. And I worked hard to make sure that the stories that I wrote didn't have any spelling errors, because I knew that that was important too, to, to make sure that they didn't have any mistakes. And so yeah, I wrote a lot of stories when I was very young, and then I continued to write as a teenager. And that was when I wrote the first draft of The Star That Always Stays, which became my first published novel a little bit later on. And yeah, when I was in high school, I just started, I got very serious about learning more about the writing craft, and um, yeah, just getting my manuscripts as polished as they could be. And yeah, and then from there I started looking for an agent, and then after I represented by an agent, then we started for publishers, and um Star Stays was published, and then Lucy followed a couple of years after that, and now I have a third book that just came out at the end of July, and it's called The Blossoming Summer. Um,
Oh my goodness. I didn't even know. Congratulations.
Thank you. This one actually is set in Wisconsin, because I'm from Wisconsin, and I wanted to write about my home state, and so yeah, that's been a really fun process. But I am currently working on more Michigan books, so
Oh,
that's been fun.
good. Listen, Wisconsin, we can throw them a bone, right? They can go on your books. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been great listening to you talking about like, you're really trying to perfect the manuscript as much as possible. Like that was kind of your intent. So I bet your editor absolutely adores you because I'm sure you've done a lot of the work for them
Oh.
to begin with.
Well,
That's
I hope so.
awesome.
I really try to make my manuscripts as definitely as good as they can be, but my editor is just so amazing at just giving the books the extra polish that they need. So it's so wonderful to work with her.
I love it. And seriously, this is what I always tell every author. I'm like, and I'll even say, I'm like, every author, what makes them an excellent author is a good editor. So if you are someone
Yes.
who likes editing, help out the authors out there. Go join a publishing company. But that is wonderful. I love that even at so young, you were like, I am going to be published. Like you had that goal, that dream, and you went after it. That is, it's very commendable and pretty impressive, I will say. Um, excuse me. And well, it's great. You kind of answered our first question right there because we want a little background on you and what how you became a writer. But I guess the next piece is why do you write? You know, you was always a dream and a goal, but like why is writing so important to you? And what is your process when you do write?
Yeah. I think one of the main reasons why I write, it's probably my very favorite part of the whole writing process is that initial spark of an idea,
Mm,
the brainstorming process. Like when I first get the idea for a book, and sometimes my ideas come like, and this is more rare, but sometimes it'll be just like a complete plot just suddenly comes to mind, like a really solid premise. And then that just makes it so easy to go from there. Other times, and this is more often the case, um, I'll just kind of like gather sort of random snippets of ideas. And after a while, I realize that they're all kind of, they feel like they could be in the same book. And then I look for how I can connect those pieces. But I just love that process. That has always been my favorite part. And when I was younger, a lot of the time I would, spend a long time developing a story and figuring out everything that was going to happen. And by the time I was finished, then, well, it sort of feels like I already wrote the book. And so I wouldn't always end up writing those stories because that was just, it's always been my favorite part, just the creative act of coming up with the story for the first time. So that's one of the main reasons that I love writing is just getting into a new story world. And um, I also am just so drawn to creating characters and um, exploring character dynamics and how characters work together um and I love that. That's probably my favorite part of the actual like drafting process
mhm.
is figuring out how the characters are going to work. And yeah, it takes me a few months to start working on a book, just doing like research and planning.
Yeah.
Typically that's a few months, and then it's another couple of months to actually write the first draft.
Mhm.
um and yeah, and in between, when I'm coming up with the book, a lot of time I'll just try and get feedback from um, mentors and other writers and yeah, just try and bounce the ideas off. And so yeah, then after I write the first draft, then I let it sit for a while. And because I'm working on so many different manuscripts at once now, sometimes I'll let them sit for quite a while I, go back and work on other things. Um, and then after it's been a while and I feel like I'm ready to return to it, then I do a big revision and throw entire pieces out and write all new stuff. And so that takes a while. So yeah, and then I just keep going through different drafts until we get it where we want it to be.
I love that you have multiple stories going on at the same time too. It's like yeah, these spinning plates. But how you're saying, you kind of let it just sit and kind of think about it. I'm sure when you pass by, you're like, oh yeah, that one. You're still sort of working on it, even if it's sitting there.
Yes.
And that's amazing. I love that. And I think that's so neat that the thing that you love the most is that creative process, right? That imagination of coming up with like creating a world, creating these characters and how do they fit. I mean, that honestly, that makes a lot of sense after reading your books because for those who haven't read it, if you're a fan of Anne of Green Gables, I highly recommend these books because, like Anne, very imaginative, always dreaming. You know, you could just you see that lovely, warm, creative spirit of Anne Shirley in all of these books. I love them.
Oh,
And
that's so cool to hear.
well, I mean, and I know that that's very much a you love those sort of that classic children's lit, like the Secret Garden and the Anne of Green Gables. Like it just has that timelessness in both of these books in the same way. So I was like, I think it's important for people to know that. I did want to ask you too, how did you get the idea for your book, this specific book, Lucy Landry?
Yes. Yeah, I first got the idea initially when I was watching a webinar um,
Hmm.
some years ago about women lighthouse keepers of the Great Lakes. And I went into the webinar knowing that I wanted to write a book set at a lighthouse, but I had no idea about, anything beyond that. And I thought that maybe, watching this webinar would, be a springboard for some ideas. And it definitely was. And by the time
Yeah.
I was finished watching it, I'm like, okay, I think I have a better idea of what I would do. Um, and so I started to try and figure out through research, additional research, um, what that would have been like for children of lighthouse keepers and growing up, just what would that experience have been like? And then at first that was just the idea of like a family in a lighthouse and thinking about like what could be missing. And um then I realized that I really needed um a character like Lucy, who's kind of a newcomer to the lighthouse. And so then once I realized that I was going to introduce Lucy into the story, then that's when things started to click.
Hmm.
So yeah, I would say the research process was just one of the most delightful parts of the whole process, just because um, I love doing research. And that one, it was nice because there's so much info out there about lighthouses. Um, and so it made it a little bit easier. Sometimes I've done book research that's a little bit harder because the info isn't like necessarily as easy to find. And but there was so much info out there for lighthouses, and so it made it a lot easier. And so I got to I watched different videos of lighthouse tours of like ones that had been abandoned, that were from that time period, like 1912. And then also ones that had been restored too. And I kind of created the lighthouse in my book off of those descriptions and kind of blended my favorite aspects of them. And then one of my other favorite little details from research that made it into the book was about traveling libraries that went around to different lighthouses. I thought that was just so interesting. And I've had a few people say that they hadn't heard of that either, and that they really enjoyed reading that. So that was fun.
I love it. It is a great detail. I mean, I love too that so much of the joy of creating this book and really the idea was it's research, right? I'm really interested in this setting, in this person, in this place. And so I'm gonna like learn more about it and then a creative world comes out of that. That makes my librarian heart very happy.
Yes.
And listen, women lightkeepers of the Great Lakes, I'm like, I wanted to go to that. I'm like, I'm gonna go find that recording and see if I can watch that. It sounds super interesting.
Yes, it really was.
Yeah. And I mean, who doesn't love a lighthouse? I mean, I feel like every kid at some point has dreamed about living in a lighthouse. I mean, maybe that's just me, or maybe that's just people who grew up in Michigan and Wisconsin, but
Yes, yes.
I just am like, that to me is like, oh, so cool. You get to live in a lighthouse, that wonder. I love it. And so now that you got the idea for your book and you were putting it together, this is defined as a historical fiction for youth, but like in your mind, what would you say this book is? How would you define it?
Yeah, I would I would probably define it as like kind of written in the style of like a classic childhood adventure story. Um like a lot of the books that I enjoyed as a child and still enjoy. I love middle grade, love vintage middle grade. Um And so I wanted to have that flavor of some of those older books. Um, and but I didn't want it to just be um, you know, just like about an adventure. I wanted there to also be like this layer of um theme, and I wanted there to be kind of a message of courage. And one of the main messages in Lucy is that we have more courage than we realize. And um, I that was important to me to put in this story, and I felt like yeah, it just worked really well
Mhm.
as a theme with these elements. And so yeah, I just enjoyed getting to kind of yeah, just like take that the formula of the, you know, the adventure story and just give it some other elements. And um so yeah, I also think of it as just, yeah, it's basically, you know, a love letter to lighthouses because they're so cool. And I think that, yeah, anyone who is interested in lighthouses, and there are a lot of people who are, I definitely think that they would enjoy picking up this book. Mm.
Definitely. I love that too, how you're saying, we have more courage than we think we have. And I think that's so important, especially for kids to see, right? To see someone their age or around their age who can be brave in spite of being, mourning and being in grief and being in a new place, and like how they're able to find this courage even in spite of all this, right?
Yes,
Um,
yes,
yeah, I mean, that's good for adults to know, but I think it's so important for kids to see that too.
yes,
And-
for sure.
Right. And so often I feel like we underestimate kids, and they're just sort of, oh, you're a kid, you can't do that yet. And it's like, yeah, kids are stronger and braver and smarter than we give them credit for. So
Yes.
I love that. Now, there's so many wonderful moments in this book and wonderful things about this book. I mean, the lighthouses alone. But what are some of your favorite characters or character and moments from the book?
Yeah, it'd be really hard for me to choose like a favorite character just because I really did enjoy writing every single one of the characters. And um it was a little bit I was concerned that it would be hard in the beginning with this big cast of characters, and you know, Lucy coming to live with this family that had so many children. And I'm like, is this going to be hard to write this large cast? And so yeah, I was a little bit concerned about that. And then as soon as I started writing it, like the first scene when Lucy goes to the lighthouse and she meets everyone in the family, then it was just like I never even had to think about what the characters would be like. It was just I knew like everything that they would say, and how they would act. And
Wow.
so that was just a really a cool experience. Sadly, it doesn't happen very often. Most of the time, I really have to sit down and
To get
figure out
in
like,
their
okay,
head and yeah.
yes, what is this character? But yeah, the Lucy characters I just knew instantly. And so yeah, I just really like all of them. And
Mhm.
um I would say like my favorite moment in the book, and I have several. But I I it's just such a sweet moment. And I just really enjoyed writing that whole ending. Um Funny thing about the, and not the, you know, the very ending, but the climax. Um
Mhm.
there's kind of an exciting climax. And I actually wrote that part first. I wrote that part before anything else in the book, which I don't usually do. I write in chronological order 99% of the time, but that time I just had the idea for the climax and just started writing it. And so it was fun then to kind of go back and know what I was working toward. So actually it was, maybe I should do that more often because I think it did help a lot.
Definitely. And now we froze up a little bit, so I want to make sure we didn't miss anything.
Okay.
It was like your favorite moment, and then it said like it's such a sweet moment in the end. Did we miss something
Oh,
in the
okay.
middle there?
Yes. Yes,
Yes,
I was
let me
talking about the very last two pages,
know.
last couple of pages. I just really loved the ending and how it turned out. I loved writing
Okay,
it.
good. I'm like, I think I missed a little bit there, so we'll just take a pause and make sure we get that.
Yes.
Yes, I know the internet. It's always a pain in the butt.
Yes.
Well, and that's pretty amazing that you came up with the climax first, like that you had that in your mind. Because I think for most people they maybe have the conclusion or they know how it's starting, but like to this is actually gonna be the big scene. And most people they have to kind of work their way up to that.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. So, what did it mean to you to have your work again selected as a Michigan Notable Book.
It was it just means so much to me. Yeah, after yeah, when The Star Always Stays was named Michigan Notable Book, it was just such a an amazing surprise, and I was so excited. Um and then with Lucy, then I was hoping that maybe it would be selected again, and so then when I got the news that it was, I was just so happy, and I just feel really honored to have Lucy be a part of this year's selection. It's just so special that that it was selected, and it was amazing to get to be part of the author tour. I loved getting able to be able to do that, and um, yeah, it's especially cool to me to have Lucy be a Michigan Notable Book because yeah, again, it's I love writing about Michigan, and um, it was fun this one. It's always fun to be able to write about a different place in Michigan, um and yeah, it's like I'm from Wisconsin, but I have really deep family roots in Michigan. Um and I've just been really fascinated by Michigan history for a long time, and I've done so much research on the area, and I've really tried to make that come alive in my books. And um like I was able to visit a lighthouse in the Upper Peninsula when I was working on like the very last of Lucy. And so I was just I needed like a last few details, and so I went there and was able to get those in. And it was just like a really cold and rainy day, and the lake was really the waves were wild, and it was such an amazing time. And so yeah, it just it means a lot to me.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. I mean, this it's always exciting, and I'm glad that you're writing about Wisconsin, but we're gonna miss being able to give you another award because I'm sure this book is gonna be amazing too.
Oh, well, thank you.
I'll probably still read it anyways, just 'cause. And why? I mean, this is a good segue. I'm like, this is a good chance for you to make the case of why you think people should read your book.
I really hope that people read Lucy if they're looking for the kind of books that I like, you know, kind of these childhood stories that feel very timeless and still resonate with so many of us, even as adults. And yeah, I write what I consider to be kind of throwback novels. Yeah, in very much Anne of Green Gables or Little Women style, or like Elizabeth Enright, it's important to me to yeah just to try and have that kind of stuff, because I know there's just I know so many people who love those stories, and it makes me happy to be able to yeah just add to that group of books. It's also um it's also important to me to have them be like those, but also to have just these really uplifting elements. I always want to just be really yeah happy endings. I like to incorporate faith elements. Those are also very important to me. And I also love including my Ojibwe heritage in these stories. I think that it's cool to be able to bring that element in as well, because that does provide something a little bit different that a lot of these classic stories didn't have. And so yeah, I just really enjoy being able to yeah put together all these elements that I love so much. And yeah, I just hope that other people enjoy those things too.
Yeah, I love it. Now, this is the part where you get to give a shout out to other authors and books that you're currently reading. Is there anyone that or any book that you've been reading recently that you're like, ah, people need to know about this?
Yeah, I've read quite a few new recently published middle grade books. And in particular, I really enjoyed one of Kate DiCamillo's recent books, The Hotel Balzar. I really enjoyed that one. I liked that it had kind of some elements of a little princess, and I did that as well in Lucy. And so it feels like I like that connection. And then also, Jeannie Birdsall has a brand new book that just came out last month, and it's called The Library of Unruly Treasures. And that one is really good. And I've been waiting for it for a long time. She wrote the Penderwick series, which is one of my very favorites. And so I was just excited to get to read her new book, and it was really wonderful. So those two are great books.
I mean, I love Kate DiCamillo. She's amazing. I remember reading Because of Winn-Dixie and like one sitting on my couch and being like,
Yeah.
bawling and being like, this is so good.
Yes.
So, oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, those are great recommendations. And it's always nice too to be able to say, hey, here's some middle readers for people. Because I think that genre, that age group really gets overlooked a lot. And so I'm glad to be able to say, hey, now, now we have more
Yes.
recommendations for you.
Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
it was so great talking with you, and congratulations on your new book. And I look forward to many future books, some set in Michigan.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. It was really fun to be able to talk.
Yes, definitely. Well, you have a great day.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
Yeah, bye.